Good morning, Ubisoft sisters. It looks like Assassin's Creed Shadows, they're saying, is a huge success. 2 million players. But notice they say players. They don't say sold. Pretty interesting and wonky stuff coming out of Ubisoft right now. You can tell there's a marketing campaign going on. And we're going to get into the numbers and dive into this right now because, the shills are out there. The media is going for it. And they're trying to make this game a success, but so far, it's not. All we've seen positive about the game from actual gamers is that the graphics look good and the visuals are pretty well rendered. Yay. That does not a great game make. I mean, some of the best games out there don't have the most in-depth, crazy visuals and things like that. You can go back to just so many 2D sprite games that are better than any of this slop that gets produced these days. It's pretty obvious. And what we've seen from the gameplay is there is no really gameplay innovations of this. It's just basically the same as the last Assassin's Creed game, which, if you just want a story about a gay black samurai with the same gameplay, I guess that's it, right? But a lot of people didn't want this. It's been failing pretty epically. Let's get into this news in just a moment. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Join us here as we talk about all things in the culture, my friends. And we are the most trusted name in gaming news for a reason. I appreciate you being here. My name's John Delarose. I am a science fiction and fantasy author by trade, and I've written a beautiful story. If Assassin's Creed would do something like my stories, it'd be great. This is The Demon's Eye. This is the men's fantasy fiction that you've been looking for, that they're not producing in the mainstream anymore. I'm going to be doing a video on this later today on just how just awful the mainstream publishing establishment is. It's crazy. You won't believe it if you haven't seen some of the data out there. Now, this is a book just of good versus evil, pure action, lots of fun. Grab it. We just launched it this week. It's in the description below. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Only $4.99. And come in on our books, guys. Thank you for reading. You've been an awesome audience so far. All right, so this is their new post. They tried the 1 million players yesterday. Now they've got 2 million players today. I'm sure they'll do 3 million players tomorrow or in a couple of days, right? And internally, Ubisoft employees told me that that management is expecting 5 million in sales. Now, that 5 million is what they really need, and that's sales, not players. You'll notice that they keep saying players instead of sales or sold, and that tells me there's like maybe some Ubisoft like accounts that just have this. They gave out some free codes the other day by, quote, mistake. That sort of thing has been going on for a long, long time here. Now, there's already pictures of game stores showing loads and loads of copies of Assassin's Creed Shadows just sitting on shelves. I don't think that gamers are coming in on this game whatsoever. The controversies have indeed killed it, despite what Paul Tassi at Forbes said the other day, which was ridiculous, saying that the controversies didn't matter to it. Absolutely did. So here's where we are. Here's some of the stuff right here in the comments. This guy says he's played for 6 hours, and look at this response. They're responding to the positive comments up front here. Are you counting downloads, add to library on Ubi Premium as players, even though they haven't played it yet? Where are the sales numbers? How about those? No response there. The boycott worked, I guess. This is true. Even if it's at 2 million, that's very, very low for a game like this. That's the thing. These numbers are not successes for a game on the level of Assassin's Creed Shadows, which they're saying now cost $500 million to make. They need to get that player base up to about 5 million up there. Now, of course, this is right here. They're trying to say that this is the best-selling game in the United States, showing that that's somehow a big deal. Now, Counter-Strike yesterday, Counter-Strike 2, actually hit number 1 for a little bit while on Assassin's Creed's launch day. That was kind of weird on that level. And again, you just see stuff on here. Monster Hunter Wilds is at number 5, which is, a month-old game. So, there's not that. Helldivers 2 has been out for a long, long time. There's these are free-to-play games, some of them. And Steam Deck's number 4. I mean, Steam Deck's not selling millions of copies this week, right? So if you think about this, Assassin's Creed Shadows probably isn't all that high, even though it's at the number 1 spot. And let's get into the Steam numbers, because this is where it gets pretty interesting right here. You can see that right now there's about 59,000 players. It looks like the number peaked already. Maybe it might have another peak for the day when West Coast people kind of wake up. I'm on the West Coast myself. It's only 9 a.m. People might start playing around noon. But for now, there is a peak of 60,000 of the all-time. Now, yesterday on the launch on Friday, it actually only peaked at around 47,000, which is a terrible launch day for a game. You got to remember that Dragon Age the Veilguard had about double these numbers on its launch day. Now, Dragon Age the Veilguard had similar. On the weekend day where everybody was off work, it went up like this. And Ubisoft's seeing a much bigger increase because of just how low this was, percentage-wise. But that 60,000 mark is a low number and is still below Dragon Age's first day. And Dragon Age did not sell well. It was a flop. It was something that caused BioWare to lay off a huge amount of its staff. They're not doing downloadable content. They're calling it a failure. And so when you're getting numbers that are lower than that, you could expect that this is not going to be that huge of a game. Now, Assassin's Creed Shadow does skew a little bit towards console players, so they might have a slightly bigger console player mark than this, but these are not numbers that are successful, even if that skew is accurate, because these are so low, it's absolutely crazy, and I can't believe it's already dropping from its peak on Saturday already. It just goes to show that people are bored of this game. They're not that interested by it at this point. Now, interesting stuff on this. Of course, there's a lot of Twitch views watching this game. People, I think, are interested in watching the train wreck more than they are watching things. They've got 79% user reviews positive so far. We'll see how that drops over the weekend as well. Now, here's what the media is saying about this. We've got Paul Tassi writing a new article every single day, shilling for this game, and we'll see. What do you make of the player count numbers, Mr. Shill? Now, this guy, like I said yesterday, wrote an article about how the controversies didn't do anything, caused no problems for Ubisoft. It was a complete lie right here. And here's what he says. It's time to start tracking how it's performing, at least based on the data we have. So far, things are looking up. Wow. Oh, it's all positive, my friends. Thank you, Paul Tassi. Ubisoft bragged about Shadows getting 1 million players on launch day. Now this morning, they have said the game has hit 2 million players across all platforms, outperforming Assassin's Creed Origins and Odysseys, but not Valhalla. Albeit, that was a record setter for the series. Look at how they're couching this sort of thing. This is all records except for Valhalla. Sure, I don't buy that whatsoever. I don't even buy that these numbers are real, that there are 2 million players on this. It's so fishy to me, and they are saying players, not sales. That's a big deal, too. So, and who knows, there's time. Previously, insider reporting was that Ubisoft was shooting for at least Odyssey numbers, and it seems likely to hit that. Of course, everyone will have an eye on concurrent Steam players. It has 55,000. It seems it will pass Odyssey at 62,000, which I don't know about that. It's pretty close. From 6 years ago. And this is just from 6 years ago. There were a lot less players on Steam 6 years ago than there are now, so it's a bad comparison to try to do that. Valhalla is not a good comparison because, unlike Odyssey, it launched on Steam a long while after its initial release, also true, and it was not relevant here. So Shadows is on the verge of being the biggest, highest concurrent Steam release for the series. Wow. This is such a shill job by Paul Tassi, trying to make this out to be something that it's this big success automatically. You can see this right now. And you can see, here it is. They called it Assassin's Creed Shadows because it's too dark to see anything. It's like Game of Thrones, says Polygon. So they're trying to push you into this. Remember Game of Thrones, everybody? You liked Game of Thrones. That was dark. It was edgy. It was high fantasy. It was action-packed. That's what AC Shadows is, my friends. It's the Game of Thrones of gaming. Yeah, I don't think players are going to buy this whatsoever. Now, they're starting to see some cracks in the wall of positivity that's going on. We'll call it toxic positivity, which we love to see from Polygon and IGN and Forbes and the like. That's what they try to do every single time, is sweep for these games and just try to make them successes when they're not. We know exactly what the game plan is every single time. But here we are. Assassin's Creed Shadows has convinced me that Ubisoft will never make a good RPG. Look at this. I've reached acceptance stage. So I'm surprised this was allowed on PC Gamer. Again, I'm sure they're ordered to just sweep for this game just like everybody else is. But it's, of course, a sneaky action sandboxes to full-fledged RPGs a long time ago. And at first, the novelty was all loot, skill trees, dialogue choices, and quests were enough to make it seem like they'd been successful in its pivot. But the more these RPGs makes, the more gaps become obvious, because it's exactly what Ubisoft loves to do. That's why we call it Ubislop. It's a jack of all trades, a master of none. They try to shove every sort of concept from platformers to the sneaky action, like they said, to RPGs, and they just do all of it a little bit, but none of it well. The only thing that they really work on is trying to refine the graphics, like I said, and sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But this is what Ubisoft is all about. That's it. And then they hope that you'll just eat it up every single time with a mediocre game at best. And then when you add in the DEI stuff to it, it becomes an unplayable version of that because you might as well go play any of their other games, which are all exactly the same. And that's what we've got here. So at least this person's admitting that they're putting RPG elements into it, but not doing it very well. They're not doing it all the way, and so it creates this half-assed game, and that's exactly why they had to delay it to begin with, because that's exactly what it is. And that's why gamers are not coming in on this. Despite Paul Tassi saying this is a huge, huge success, this is not. These days on Steam, this is a low thing. If you look at Monster Hunter Wilds and what it was doing just a couple weeks ago, this just got trounced by Monster Hunter Wilds, which is crazy because Assassin's Creed Shadows should be one of the biggest brands out there. I know Monster Hunter is as well, but this is a huge one, and this is a giant failure for Ubisoft. And even if this 2 million players is accurate, which I don't think it is, I think it's a lie. I think they're lying to everybody out here because they don't show any data as to where this comes from. This is not enough to make this a profitable game whatsoever. This is failing. They're going to lose a ton of money on this, and it seems like it's over. Leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Please check out my Demon's Eye novel, which is on Amazon right now. This is great fantasy, guys, for your weekend. Way better to read than to play a game like this. Check it out. It's only $4.99. Really appreciate you for supporting the channel. We'll be back soon.